Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Ohm Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. And now, let's experience New Thought Philadelphia.
So there's a qualitative spiritual term that we sometimes use. And that term is sucketh. Sometimes something sucketh. And right now, there seems to be a lot in the world that people would say, sucketh. The title of the talk today is The World You Want. And the reason that I bring up that sucketh part is because it's really easy to see the stuff that we don't like in the world that's going on around us. There are wars, you might have heard, in Ukraine, and Gaza, in Iran, and also in Congo and Pakistan and a couple of different parts of Pakistan. And there are other places where there's conflict going on. There is economic instability in the world. All you need to do is open up a newspaper or turn on your doom scroller and it'll inform you about income inequality and inflation and oil prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and if that's not enough, there's disease. There are problems, there are difficulties, there are challenges. There are things in the world that sucketh. And if we try and pretend that it's all okay, if we say, oh no, it's all good, it's all one, it's all God, that's a spiritual bypass. That's not addressing the way that we are feeling about the situation. What we need to do is find a way to engage with it in a way that is going to be helpful for us. Oh, and by the way, it's not limited to stuff that shows up in the news. Is it possible there's something that has been going on in your life that you would describe with the word sucketh? Is it possible that there's something could be going a little bit better in your life? Yeah. And if there is, pretending that it's not a thing is not going to help in the long term. Probably. So the thing that we get to do in any of those circumstances is consider the converse. What do you want instead? What is the world that you want? What is the world that is free of sucketh for you? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that seem like? Our friends over at the Centers for Spiritual Living set their claim on a world that works for everyone. Touches your heart, doesn't it? A world that works for everyone. I just love the thought of a world that works for everyone. And it makes me think about what that actually means. Now, they got that from a piece written by Sharif Abdullah, and I'm going to read it for you. A world that works for all is not achievable without restructuring our priorities, our attitudes, and our culture. We cannot tinker with this. The change must be fundamental, an evolutionary shift towards spiritual compassion and corresponding shifts in our actions. In short, a transformation of head, heart, and hand. We must work on ourselves first, and then be prepared to do the work on our culture and institutions. That sounds great. That seems awesome. That is a tall order. Yeah, am I in favor of that? Sure. Am I really enthusiastic that I'm going to leave the Falzer Club in an hour and it's going to be different out there? I have some skepticism. And the Centers for Spiritual Living actually have their global vision. And they're even more optimistic than Sharif Abdullah. And I love a lot of the ideas that they have. And I'm going to give you some of these lofty ideas. And as I go through these, what I invite you to do is see how it lands with you. Because, as we say, it is done unto you as you believe. So if I say one of these optimistic, uplifting, harmonious, wonderful things, and you go, I don't think that can happen, listen to that. If that's what you're feeling, that's okay. That's your belief talking back to you. And it's not showing you that there's something wrong with the idea or that there's something absent or missing from you. What it's telling you is that there's work to be done. There is an opening. There is an opportunity for transformation. We envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Sure. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. That feels good. A little aspirational as far as I'm concerned, but we keep going. We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought, a world where each and every person discovers their own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. I'd love for that to be true. But, you know, I've met people. And it's possible. It's possible, but there seems to be, at least in my awareness, a gap between where we've been and where we want to be. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life, a world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. I'd love to live in a world like that. I'm having a real difficult time understanding how we get from where we are to there. Spent a few days on vacation in Florida this week, and we were staying, yeah, it was wonderful. We were staying right on the beach, and if you've been to South Florida, just in from the beach is the Intracoastal Waterway. And every time, and I think it was 14 times I went across the Intracoastal, and only on 5 of those times was there not a drawbridge up. So I was heading to where I was going to be heading, and suddenly there was a gap. There was something that was preventing me from getting to where I wanted to be, and without the drawbridge closing, I was not going anywhere. You know, I could have driven around to another drawbridge, but I'm not going to swim through the Intracoastal Waterway. It's just not going to happen, especially with a car that I have to return to Enterprise. So there are things that are possible, but there are things where we see there's a gap. There's a space between where we are and where we want to be, and something needs to happen. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. Sign me up. What do I do? Because I got no clue on my own. Yeah, that'd be great, but those are some big things that they're talking about. Political, corporate, academic, and social. I'd like to. We envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. Yeah, baby. The bridge is still open for me. We envision a world in which resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is generous and continuous sharing of these resources. I've seen kindergartners do that. As we get older and more mature and wiser, we seem to stop doing that. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. Now we're getting into my territory, because forgiveness is when you stop being angry about something that's not happening anymore, and you let go of the energy of it. And there's a huge tendency toward not forgiving. For me and for many, many, many of the people I'm working with. Because we've been wrong. There's been stuff. Something's happened. I'm not going to let go of that. Are you kidding? It's been transformational in my life. It's an anchor point, a pivot point. How can I just let go of that? And we have also all had the experience, when we go through the forgiveness process, something opens up. Something changes. There is a difference. Energetically, it leaves room for something other than that old hurt. Is that easy to do? No. No, that is not easy to do. And the deeper the hurt, the more traumatic the experience, the more ingrained it's become in our story, the harder it is to bring it out and let go of it and detach the energy. And the way I like to talk about that is, you know, in college there was this girl who dumped me. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm angry about it. And I realize she's sleeping fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's her story. That's her story. But the only person who I can affect with that at this point is me. And just intellectually I think, well, maybe it's worth stopping doing that. And there is some energy and activity and effort that gets involved in doing that. When we create the world that we want, we actually have to let go of the world that we have and make room for something different. We envision a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. Love that. I mean, we're in a community performance space that's all about that, and I love it. And I have also worked in corporate America where the investment in the arts is let's buy some stuff to put on the walls in corporate headquarters and we'll donate to the symphony or something. Can it happen? Yeah. Is there something that needs to change, some transformation that's required in the meantime? Yeah. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. This is a lofty, aspirational statement. I don't disagree with any of this. I think you will also agree with me that it's not particularly a practical thing in its own, here's your next steps to take part in. So then I got to thinking about what kind of a world works for everyone. I mean, I love, the idea of a world that works for everyone. That's wonderful. But then again, this is a world that has sociopaths, that has bullies, that has pedophiles, that has greedy, self-centered people. Do I want a world that works for them? Well, I said everyone. Am I now ruling people out? Does somebody else need to change something in order for my world to be okay? Well, something gets to change. What kind of world works for everyone? I think it's the world where our personal freedom ends where somebody else's freedom begins. There's a lesson I learned from my mom, and it's stuck with me, that my rights end where your rights begin. And that's the way that we cooperate and co-create. And if I want to do something that involves you, I really need to get your buy-in on it. Because just doing something that you want in spite of somebody else doesn't work that well. Oh, and it turns out there are some spiritual lessons about this, about how to do this in the world, how to create the world you want, the world that works for everyone. I have examples of this one powerful idea from 9 different religions. Notice when you recognize it. In Islam it says, "No one of you is a believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself." From Taoism, regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain and regard your neighbor's loss as your own loss. From Zoroastrianism, the nature only is good when it shall not do unto another whatever is not good for its own self. Judaism, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. A little spin on that in Christianity. All things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. The golden rule shows up all over the place. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Buddhism says, in 5 ways should a clansman minister to his friends and familiars: by generosity, courtesy, and benevolence, by treating them as he treats himself, and by being as good as his word. This is one of those kindergarten level things where it seems so obvious in kindergarten. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Hinduism says men gifted with intelligence should always treat others as they themselves wish to be treated. These are hugely different spiritual practices and religions. Jainism says, in happiness and suffering, in joy and grief, we should regard all creatures as we regard our own self. Can you do that? How's it going? Is there a possibility to do a little more of that? In Sikhism, as thou deemest thyself, so deem others, then shalt thou become a partner in heaven. Can this be done? Yes. Do you know how? You don't need to know how. You don't need to know how. When I was working in business, I came to understand that as we're making a business deal, as we're selling our product or services to a client, the best ones are where the deal is set up. Here's the price, here's the product, here's the service, here's the contract, here's the commitment, here's how this is going to go together. And if you'd be comfortable taking either side of that, that's a good deal. Because there's a company that has something that they have prepared to bring to the market to share with the world, and they need to be compensated for it. And there's somebody who's looking for the opportunity to do that, to take advantage of this product or service or offering or operation, and they would happily give up some of their resource in order to be able to accomplish that. They can save time, they can save money, they can improve lives. A good deal is when both sides are coming out ahead. There are no losers. And the same thing is true in prayer. Every Sunday morning we do prayer work stories, and I'm not sure if you've noticed that in every prayer work story there is no loser. There is nobody who's losing. There's nobody who's disadvantaged. Even when we're praying for our team to win, we're not praying for the other team to be demolished. We're praying for everybody to do their best. And we love it when it's our team. And Earth continues to spin even if it's not. So how do we take this idea of the world that you want, the world that works for everyone, all of these lofty things that the Centers for Spiritual Living are talking about, how do we bring that into our spiritual work to invite that into the experience of our lives? How do you pray for it? Well, the first thing you do is get that feeling. And for me, it's a feeling of fairness, a feeling of empowerment, a feeling of mutuality, of everybody wins. To get the feeling of what does it feel like when everybody wins. Bring that within. Invite that experience. We are all succeeding here. We are all coming out ahead. It is possible. Take a deep breath. Deep breath out. Did you feel like you were competing with anybody for that breath? No. And that breath was pretty important. That is an example of how this can work in your life. It's already working in your life, and it can work even more. So go into your spiritual practice, into your prayer, into your meditation, and bring with you that feeling of fairness, of mutual success, of empowerment. And let that be your story. Open up to that as a possibility. And let the infinite guide you in what might be yours next. And let the pieces fit together in a way that brings more of that harmony and empowerment and fairness and goodness into the world. And the good thing is you can. You're already doing it. You're doing it with every breath. You can do it intentionally. And so I invite you this week to be that bright light of love, that goodness, to let it shine, to let the love flow. Because the world deserves it. And so do you. And so it is.
Yeah.